Mr. Ferguson of Georgia.
Director, thank you for being here today, and Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me. I want to start something that was said very early on by our colleague from New Mexico, Ms. Grisham. She talked about the dire straits of New Mexico, 20% poverty rate, and I think she invited you to go and see that firsthand. You know, very dire straits in New Mexico. I compare that with my state of Georgia, where we are thriving in many areas. Don't you agree that policy and what's reflected here in the budget should reflect those differences and allow states to have flexibility so that New Mexico can address their issues in a different way than Georgia, and the fact that this budget is growing the economy and creating opportunities for Americans?
The administration does not believe that any particular state is condemned to permanent poverty, any group of people is condemned to permanent poverty, that everyone in every state has the ability to improve themselves.
Okay. I want to focus for just a minute on the process that we go through here. I find it very disingenuous. I've written an op-ed talking about the big lie we tell ourselves is the budget process. Since 1974, this process has worked, I think, 4 times properly. We have seen Republicans in the White House, Democrats in the White House, Republicans in control of the House and Senate in any various form that you want, and yet we're $20 trillion in debt. We've put in budget caps. We have gone down the road of removing earmarks. No matter what we do, we wind up having these same conversations where the minority voice shuts down the government no matter which party is in control, and that is how they get their legislative agenda pushed to the front. Do you agree that we need to reform our budget process?
Absolutely, and would look forward to working with you on ideas. Again, I don't think that this is the chamber that's necessarily broken at this particular time.
That's an interesting perspective. I think I think the entire process is, and while this chamber, while the House may be doing some really good work and strong work, we have to do it in the context of realizing that we've got to do this in conjunction with the administration and the Senate.
We do. I just point out, as I think someone else pointed out, rightly so, that y'all have actually done a pretty good job of passing the appropriations bills since I've been here. I think we pass them more often than not. I think they get out of committee a good bit. Sometimes they don't get across the floor, but I think last year y'all passed all 12 of your approps bills, so you have to be commended for that.
Yeah, the other thing that I want to touch on, and everybody, we've had a lot of conversation on this today, and that is the mandatory spending side of the equation. What I think we've got to do is we've got to change how we have this conversation. We sit in this particular hearing and look at how we frame the conversations. It is either you're cutting it or you're doing something crazy to it. I mean, it becomes a very political environment. Our side demonizes the minority party demonizes us, and we're not having an honest and transparent conversation about what the future of these programs look like, where we can keep our promises to our seniors, yet we can have an honest conversation about what the future of those programs looks like for somebody in their 50s, 40s, and 30s. How do you think we should go about having that conversation differently, realizing that the only way that we're probably going to be able to do that is for that to be a bipartisan conversation?
You know, I don't know if I have any magic answers to that, Mr. Ferguson, as to how to solve the toxicity in the government right now. I think that a good start would probably be to get back to regular order. I cannot tell you, and this is not the question you asked, how disappointed I am, and we are as an administration, that Mr. Schumer is holding up debate on DACA in the Senate. He may have relented and allowed it today, but for the last day or so did not allow something that he insisted on having in the first place. I'm not sure how we're expected. It was a golden opportunity. You've probably not even seen real debate in the House. I only saw it once in the 6 years I was here. There's folks in the Senate who are really welcoming the opportunity today to have a floor debate on an issue with everybody able to offer their ideas and have them voted up or down. That's a fantastic concept. I just wish it would be allowed to run its course.
One final thing. We've had a couple of hearings with the Congressional Budget Office on scoring. One of the things that strikes me is that the CBO, I asked the question, do you have accurate number? If you go for any 10-year period, your projections in year 1, how accurate were they in year 10? Yeah. And they've only get to year 6, and yet there's no data and no determination of the accuracy in years 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yet we are being asked, and every Congress has been asked, to make 10-year budget decisions on a number that we have absolutely no idea how accurate it is. How would you address that?
The 10-year budget window is voluntary. I think the Act doesn't specify the amount of window you have to take. Different administrations have done 5, 7, 10. We looked at the possibility of doing 20. So if that's an issue to you, I encourage you all to look at possibly doing longer or shorter budgets. Again, really what matters when the rubber meets the road is this year and next, right? The rest of it is aspirational and a messaging document. Thank you.